Hello, everyone. It's Wednesday, time for a little Wisdom Wednesday. I just wanted to touch base with you today and visit with you a little bit about what I've been learning. Last weekend was my hormone update meeting in Utah, and it was a great event continuing to talk about just the data we have as far as hormonal therapy and the benefits, which overwhelmingly far outweigh any type of risk, and feel as though, honestly, it's something we all should be looking into for overall health and longevity. The data for happier, healthier, longer continues to swell, and this is great news. Much of the initial portion of the course was looking at a medication that is used in diabetics called Metformin and the prospects it might have for anti-aging. But rather than specifically looking at this particular medication, I wanted to look at what this medication does in terms of a protein called ampK. ampK stands for adenosine monophosphate protein activator kinase, and that means it's an enzyme. And this enzyme, ampK, tends to regulate cellular energy. It looks at input and output and upregulates and downregulates in response to the amount of energy that we're seeing as an output within the cell, and particularly the mitochondria within the cell. This is that little area within the cell that produces our energy. So it functions much like a gauge on our car, so to speak. And as a result, the studies that we're starting to see and starting to at least observe, having some observations in people who are on this medication, this Metformin, they're starting to see that there are some overwhelmingly unique, potentially anti-aging benefits. But let's look specifically at this kinase as to what it does. It decreases fat storage. It increases our sensitivity to insulin, which is that hormone that causes fat storage and glucose storage within the cells, so it can lower blood sugar. It lowers our production in the liver of certain lipids, particularly LDL and then triglycerides. And it also reduces chronic inflammation. So this is very important in terms of looking at how our cells function. And if we had something that could actually help amplify this process of decreasing fat storage and lowering inflammation and decreasing production of certain lipids and increasing our sensitivity, wouldn't that be great? And we looked at all these wonderful studies that show what is the benefit of this, the opposite being true. If you don't have ampK, then you're going to increase your fat storage, you're going to increase your insulin resistance, increase LDL and triglyceride production, and increase chronic inflammation. So what is it about this enzyme that seems to be so attractive to the anti-aging world? Well, it's these things. If we can lower these things, then we are going to see some great benefit. And lowering chronic inflammation is huge in terms of anti-aging. And we already know that not only does this Metformin improve this production of this particular enzyme, but our hormones do it. So testosterone and thyroid and estrogen, these all have the same benefits and qualities and have been shown in study after study after study to decrease visceral fat, to improve insulin sensitivity, to lower production of LDL and triglycerides, and to lower chronic inflammation. So we are already looking at that in our program here in our office by utilizing all of these hormones. Well, what other ways can we do this if you're not a candidate or not on a hormonal program? There are certain foods that can help do this, and certain just activities. We know that caloric restriction is beneficial. Fasting, which we've talked quite a bit about, and you know a little bit about that. This definitely increases autophagy and the ability of this particular enzyme to upregulate. And then intense exercise. Rather than just steady state exercise, say cardio, we know that high intensity interval training does much to improve and upregulate this particular enzyme. So that's beneficial. Well, what other things can do it? Certain foods perhaps We know that leafy greens are beneficial, things like artichokes and green beans. The high antioxidant foods can do this. We know that certain teas, particularly green teas and matcha teas, are good. Caffeine in the form of coffee and cocoa have been utilized and have been shown to increase ampK production, as well as the polyphenols in berries are very beneficial, and these are high antioxidant foods. There are also other supplements that we've used that can increase ampK. Certain supplements like alpha lipoic acid, NAC, berberine, quercetin, zinc, omega-3 fish oil. Certain adaptogenic herbs can be beneficial. Certain mushrooms, reishi and cordyceps, have been shown to increase ampK, as well as carnitine, which we find in certain meat products. So even if you're not on a hormonal program, you can find benefit in upregulating this important enzyme that can give us benefits from lower fat storage, increasing sensitivity to our insulin, which is really important as we age, trying to lower production of LDL and triglycerides, which lessen our prospects for having metabolic syndrome and reducing our risk for diabetes. And then also it can reduce chronic inflammation, which we know is a great producer of chronic disease at the end of the day. So just a little bit of nerdy science, guys, sorry, but this is definitely rising to the top in terms of what we're seeing in some of the literature out there, and I think will continue to be something that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to also do a little bit of research this week specifically on metformin, and we'll talk about that next week. And in the meantime, I would encourage you to look at fasting and high intensity interval work, look at these food substances and also some of these supplements that I mentioned, in terms of really trying to look into these things from an anti-aging perspective and a healthy aging perspective. Hope you all have a great week and stay safe. Until next time.